And welcome back to Coffee with the Wolves, presented by JJC Athletics. I'm Damian Dennis, as always, and once again, I'm joined by track coach Jeff DeGraw. Jeff, you got to be feeling real good right now.
Oh yes, very happy, very happy. It was an absolutely great trip to Utica, New York, and the NJCA National Track and Field Championships.
Yeah, third place finish, crowned, I think, three national champions, individual national champions. Just a great overall weekend for your team.
Yes, and it's hard to win either the team title or an individual national championship. And the one thing that impressed me with our kids was that they were ready. Everybody who went, all 25 athletes, either came back as an All American, multi All American, or performed the best they ever did. Of the 25 athletes, 22 are All American. And the other three did the best they have all season long. And that's part of what we try to do with our program. And I think we talked about this last week. The process, you do your best when it matters most. And our team did exactly that. And I'm so happy for all of them because seeing the joy, whether they were national champion or placed eighth, that last place to be an All-American and get on the podium, that's what you coach for. I mean, to see the joy, and that is something, and I told them in the team meeting afterwards, this is something you'll remember for the rest of your life. And, because you never know what's going to happen from year to year, and you have to take advantage of the opportunity when it's presented to you.
Right. So let's kind of walk through the weekend a little bit because you went to Utica. The national meet started on Thursday, right?
Correct.
So that first day, you immediately had some success, both men's and women's that first day. How were you feeling kind of entering those first few events, and then by the end of the day, how confident were you in both teams' ability to kind of keep performing at that level?
Well, Thursday was a big day for us because the very first event we had was the 4x8 for the men, and we were clearly the favorites. But when you go, anything can happen. Just like you play any sport, anything can happen at any time. And being the clear favorites, put some pressure on our guys. We had to come up with the correct order, and do everything. And, we got off to a good start. And Alex Johnson ran our anchor that day, and he ran a 154, I believe, 87 split in the 800. And, we won by about 3 seconds in the 4x800 relay. And to start the meet off with a national title was quite impressive. And I think that helped, show everybody what can be done, and it gave us a big boost right away. And then we had the 10,000 meter finals for the men, and that was impressive. That started what I believe was one of the best meets I've ever seen a distance runner have, as Andrew Ciarlette placed second, and Tommy Edelman was also an All-American. The first time he's ever ran a 10,000 meters, he was eighth. So that started. And in between those two, I think the 4x8 propelled our 4x1. They ran their second best time of the season and qualified for Saturday's finals. So once you qualify, 8-lane track, if you make it to the finals in some of those events, as long as you finish, you're going to be on that podium.
Right. How do you kind of coach when there's such high expectations? You talk about you were the favorites in one event. How do you kind of coach your team and maybe be like, hey, we still have to perform. Don't maybe take it easy or take a step back just because we are the favorites.
Well, and I think the 4x8, they knew and they wanted to win. They've talked about it all season long, and I'm guilty. I've talked about it with them. But in our team meeting Wednesday night, it's just what I did was I took a page out of Hoosiers. So, and I asked the team, has anybody here seen the movie Hoosiers? None of them knew what I was talking about. So what we did on Wednesday was we went to the track with all the people, all of our athletes who were not there the year before. We went to the track where the meet was because that was the first day on Wednesday that you could be on the track between 6 and 8, and it had poured rain. So we got there about 7. We had practiced at the practice track on Tuesday and earlier in the day on Wednesday. So I wanted them to take them to the track to see the facility. And when we got there, we got on the track, and I told them, look around. I said, it's a track, just like every track you have ran on all season. Yeah. It's no different. And, of course, the scene out of Hoosiers is when he walks into Butler Arena with that team, and first thing he does, Gene Hackman, in his role, he measures the hoop. Yeah. It's 10 feet. It's a basketball game. Mm-hmm. It's no different than what we've done all year. The surroundings are different, but still, you just go out and do what you've done all season. Yeah. And that's what we did.
Now I'm picturing you also doing that, and then taking everybody back to the hotel and making them watch that movie.
No. No, they looked at me like, Hoosiers, never heard of it. Yeah. But that's, it's an older movie, and I'm old, so.
Well, your team performed exceedingly well. Maybe not quite the finish you wanted, but still, a great finish.
Well, when I was going through everything, and like I said before, it's hard to win. Mm-hmm. And I knew, a few teams would be ahead of us. I thought second, maybe if we had a perfect meet and, another team struggled, you hate to, wish another team to do bad because you have no control. The only thing you have control over is what you do. It's not like baseball. You're facing a pitcher from the other team. We're not facing anybody. It's just what we do. So, and I figured out after qualifying on Friday with what we had and what the other teams had, I had my little cheat sheet all day Saturday because I had written down what I thought we needed to do and then what other teams I thought what they would do. And when I figured all the points out, we were third. And it pretty much went as I had figured it. Not that I'm some genius. I mean, coaches do this all the time. Yeah. But I figured if we could score over 100 points, we could be third. And I had on my little chart, we would score 112 and a half because on Friday, Nicholas Dominici was a surprise in the high jump making All-American. He tied for 6th. I was hoping maybe we could get 1 point out of that, and we got 2.5 points. So, that gave us that half point on the tie. And I figured us at 112 and a half. We ended up with 113 and a half. Yeah. And I knew if, and 4th place was, I believe, 88. So our goal always was if we could get 100 points. And earlier in the season, I thought maybe we could score 119. That still would have been third. But, we were pretty close to what I thought we would do. But then doing it is a different story. I could sit and write down what I think we should do. But then going out and that, I give all the credit in the world to our athletes for what they did. And what the women did, finishing 6th in the country, I mean, that was simply amazing. Every female but one made All-American. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, and our one who didn't perform the best she ever has, she broke the school record. So you can't, the kids who didn't make All-American, they got that experience for next year. And when you perform the best you ever have, and like some of our kids were disappointed in their place, but I said, you ran the best or threw the best you ever did in your life. You can't be disappointed with that. Although I did like the attitude that they were, they wanted to achieve more, which will motivate them for next year.
Right. How important is kind of that for the freshmen? How important is this experience for them leading into next year.
It's huge. Now they know what they got to do. They've experienced. They found out. Wow, if I just get a little bit better, I could be a few places higher. Now there will be different people there next year because the sophomores leave and new freshmen come in, but they see that it's not that difficult if you do the work, and that's huge. And I won't have to take all those sophomores next year to the track and show them it's just a track.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about Andrew Ciarlette because you had emailed me on Sunday talking about how his performance, which included the national championship in the steeplechase, was one of the best you've ever seen in your 30 years of coaching. So I want to highlight Andrew. We have him coming up next here on Coffee with the Wolves. Just a little bit about his performance and maybe those other student athletes who won championships or did some of their best work.
Andrew was simply amazing. His mom was there, and I told a lot of people he was just a monster. We sat down and talked quite a few times during the season about what to enter. He had qualified in the 1500, the 5,000, the 10,000, and the steeplechase. He was third or fourth last year in the steeplechase, and he was All-American in the 10,000. But he had taken such a big step this year, so when it came down to it, he wanted to try and do every distance event. 1,500, 5,000, 10,000 in steeple. He was the favorite in the steeple. He ran the fastest time coming in. But the 10,000 was first. That was Thursday. So he got second in that, ran a great race, his best he's ever ran. Came back, and that was at 6 o'clock Thursday night. Yeah. The steeple was at 9:45 the next morning. After racing 6.2 miles Thursday night, he had to come back for the steeple, and that was a huge event. We had 3 entries, and Andrew just took control of that race, and he was the clear-cut winner. Broke 10 for the first time he has all in his career. Again, ran another personal best and was national champion. And he had such a big lead, I told him on the last lap to enjoy this last lap, but concentrate because the steeple is different. You got to go over the barriers and the water jump, and if he hits one of those or goes down, you may not get back up because those are unlike any other regular hurdles. They don't move. Yeah. But I told him to enjoy it, and he heard me, and it's a great feeling as a coach when you can watch one of your athletes win a national title. Fortunately, and then, in fact, in the steeple, we went 1-2-7. So we scored 20 points just in the steeplechase, yeah. And that was absolutely huge for our team. Michael Welcome was second. He ran his personal best, and Tommy Edelman had come back from the 10,000 also the night before and made All-American. And he was seventh. So that was huge for our team. Fortunately for Andrew and our other 1,500 runner, Matt Clark, there were only 14 entries in the 1,500. So there were no prelims Friday afternoon. So that was the steeplechase was the only event for Andrew, in both days. Eat well, get plenty of sleep, just pack in the food and hydrate so well. And then he came back in the 1,500 on Saturday and placed third. And he ran again like a 4 or 5 second personal best. Yeah. And anybody who knows Andrew, we've really worked on his speed a lot because he could go out and run. He can go out and run a 16-mile run with anybody. Yeah. But you have to have speed in the 1,500. And he ran almost his perfect race in the 1,500. Then, he had about 5 hours, so we got him back to the hotel so he could sleep to get ready for the 5,000. And then the 5,000, he was trailing a little bit at the beginning, but made a move about 9 minutes in and just started hammering laps, and he made the race for everybody. And then 3 of them broke away, and it was those three for like 2 or 3 laps, and it was not said and done of who would win, but the other two just were a little bit fresher. But and Andrew got third. But what he did in my 30 years of collegiate coaching, I've never seen somebody. I've seen people maybe attempt to do that, but to place in the top 3 of every distance event at the national meet and run your best that you ever had in every one of those events was simply amazing. And I told him right after he finished the 5,000, I went up to him. I didn't really care who heard me. I told him it was the most impressive performance of anybody at the national meet, and there wasn't another distance runner who could have done what he did.
Yeah.
To me, he was the athlete of the meet. And, there was a thrower from Mineral who won all 4 throws, the shot, disc, javelin, and hammer. But to run, it was about 21,000 meters and race it.
Yeah.
And on different days like that, in the recovery and what you have to do to get ready for the race, it's something I will never forget.
When he told you he wanted to do all of the distance races, did you think, no, I'm not letting you do that, or were you confident in his ability to do what he did?
Well, we went over, the pluses and minuses of what could happen. Fortunately, last year, the 3,000 meter steeple was on Thursday. They switched it this year because the 10,000 is usually the first day. And it worked out perfectly because he said he felt so good in the steeplechase after running the 10,000, which is the flat race. I think that really helped. And then we didn't know going into the race, once we entered him, we thought there was going to be a prelim in the 1,500. Yeah. And, that had been an extra race, but it worked out in his favor. We talked about the pluses and minuses, but I also knew Andrew, with his training and his cross training, he swims a lot. He's a very good swimmer. So instead of doing a lot of running, like 2-a-days, he will swim in the afternoon. And I knew he was strong. So, and I knew mentally, and it's, you can be as strong as you want, but mentally you have to be able to get through it. And Andrew is one of the toughest mental athletes I've ever seen. He knows how to take care of himself and get ready.
Cool. Well, Jeff, any final thoughts just kind of about the national meet or your season overall?
Yeah, it was really fun, and to end it the way we did, it's something like I mentioned before that watching somebody like one of our females, Emma Cisic, she just made a major breakthrough this year as a distance runner. She was disappointed in cross country that she didn't make All-American, but about a month and a half ago, she really had a big breakthrough. And all coaches know sometimes you have to wait for that light switch to flip on for a kid when they realize, hey, I can be good. And Emma did that this year. She got second in the steeple with a personal best. And then she ran the 1,500 and broke our school record by 10 seconds, which was quite impressive. And it's the best I've ever seen her run in that. And then to come back at the end of the day and run her first 5,000 of this year and make All-American in that, she truly had an impressive performance. Alex Johnson winning the 400. I mean, he took control of that race, and there wasn't anybody who was going to beat him. Now, I will say that in the half, I know our 3 guys were a little disappointed. Stephen Lundy was 4th. He ran a great weekend, and he's just been coming on all season. But I know the Johnsons wanted to do better, both Chris and Alex, in the 800. But I'll tell you what, they were gassed. They had the 4x8 on Thursday. Then they had the preliminary rounds on Friday of the 400 and 800, and they had to run fast because only the top 8 times qualified. Yeah. So they had to make sure they were part of those 8. Then they came back on Saturday with the 400, which they did well. And then the 800, they were a little disappointed. They still made All-American. They were both 4-time All-American. They have that national championship in the 4x8, so quite impressive. You know, I could sit here and we don't have time, but I could sit here and go through every one of our athletes because I'm so proud of all of them of what they did. I mean, it was a great, great week.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the finish. Congratulations to your student athletes for how they performed. This is probably our last time having you on for the year. I think we're wrapping up Coffee with the Wolves here either next week or the week after for, 2023, 2024. But can't wait for cross country to get you back on.
I know it doesn't end.
No,
we have to get better.
Yeah. But yeah, we got Andrew Ciarlette up next. Jeff, as always, thank you for joining me for Coffee with the Wolves.
Thanks, Dave.
Next up here on Coffee with the Wolves is Andrew Ciarlette. I think I got it right.
Yes, you
Hey, welcome, and congrats after your big weekend there in Utica.
Mm-hmm, thank you.
How are you feeling after your performance?
Pretty excited to move to the next step, I think. Really, really happy on how I ended it. There's not too much else I could have done for the team. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I know you won a national championship in the steeple race.
Yes.
You also finished second in the 10,000 meters.
Mm-hmm.
3,000 meter steeplechase, that's what you won the national championship in. And then Saturday, third place in both the 1,500 meter and the 5,000 meter.
Yeah.
I pulled this up. You may read it, but your coach speaking your praise highly after your performance. He says it's one of the best he's seen in his 30 years of coaching. What does that kind of mean for you, just to have him kind of sing your praises so highly?
It means a lot. It gives me just a lot of confidence in moving forward, and confidence that I can just keep getting better and better. And it really just makes me appreciate his coaching and being on his team and everything he's done for me.
Yeah. Team finished third place overall.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge honor. Not quite where you wanted to be, but not far off from it either.
Mm-hmm.
How do you and your teammates feel just with where you finished the weekend at?
I think we're definitely really happy we got a podium spot. Third place, the trophy is really cool. Obviously, it would have been a lot cooler to get second or first, but sometimes things are just out of reach. We are definitely really happy, especially the distance guys. We finished third because we didn't have a great season at the end of the season for cross country, so we're definitely glad we finished strong this season and got what we went for, a trophy.
Now, that's a good question to ask, because I've asked your coach this a few times throughout the last few months. But he's a cross country coach too. For you as an athlete competing in both cross country and track and field, what's kind of the training like in terms of maybe similarities and differences between the two sports?
Well, a lot of similarities are you're always kind of training. After cross country, we took like a 1 or 2 week break, depending on how much you needed. The track, it's a lot more. I feel like it's a lot more strategy, especially for like the national races. The training that goes into it, you're doing a lot more speed workouts and stuff. Where cross country, you're always trying to build up just a lot of a base and that kind of stuff. Not that you don't work on your speed or anything, but it's kind of different in that way. You train on different surfaces when you're training for cross country. You consider hills, running on grass, that kind of stuff. Whereas track, you're running on the same thing every time. So you're not really, you can run on whatever you feel like, and then it'll just translate accordingly.
How do you feel participating in both sports kind of helped you get to this point? Because again, you are an individual national champion in your event. Is there anything from cross country that kind of helped you, just your performance over the weekend?
Yes, more of just like the year round, constantly building on miles and stuff. Like one thing, like just back in high school, if you ran like just cross country in high school and then you switched to doing cross country and track, you just notice such an improvement in your times and your conditioning when you're just running year round with some breaks here or there, but just constantly building up and stuff. It just helps your conditioning so much. And then I think having the confidence in running like having run a national meet already helps
Yeah.
going into another national meet.
What was your mindset going into those events over the weekend? Just kind of where you were mentally.
Um, I really wanted top 8 in every event, which would be All American in every event. There's a lot of pressure for the first two because I was expected to get second at the least. First was a bit of a long shot, but I had to secure second for the team, so that was a lot of pressure. And then the steeplechase, I was highly expected to win that, so that adds a little bit of pressure when there's those expectations. But then going into the third day, Saturday, I was just shooting for, 8th place, and then like the 1500, I went into it and didn't really know what to expect, and I just ran a really good race and moved up into third place, and then just held on and pulled that off. And then the 5K, you know, I knew everyone into it was going to be tired, and I knew I was tired. I didn't want to run it. I was tired. I was done, but I went out after like one lap. I started to feel real good, and then I just ran a good run.
How do you kind of face those expectations? You talk about you need to at least get second place here.
Mhm.
You were expected to win first place, and
Mhm.
of course you did in that regard. But
Mhm.
how do you kind of overcome and face those expectations?
Um, it's hard. It's definitely a lot of anxiety goes into it because you're always thinking of the what ifs. Like, what if this person behind me runs a really good race, or what if you run a really bad race? But then when it comes down to it, it's just trusting in yourself, because once you if you don't like if you just control your mind and go into the race knowing what you're capable of, you're gonna be able to pull it off, as long as you go in with that confidence that you can do it. And that's kind of how I went into them. I knew, yes, I'm nervous. Yes, I felt a lot of pressure and anxiety about what could happen, but I knew, one of my teammates kept saying, like, every lap during the 10K, he kept just telling me, you know what you're doing, and that's exactly how I felt. Like, I knew what I was doing, I knew what I had to do, and I knew I was capable of it.
So you're not the only one to win an individual national championship.
Mhm.
Your team overall bringing home three of them.
Mhm.
One of them is one of the team events. But
Mhm.
what can you say about your teammates there and their performance? And not just the others who won the national
Mhm.
championship, but then everyone's collective effort for that third place finish.
Um, Everyone did phenomenal. Like, we had our ups and downs of the season, but when it came to the meet, everyone ran so incredibly well. I wasn't able to watch every single race, but just all their times, all their like competing with everyone. It really made me proud to watch them compete and get their best times, compete with people that they never thought they could beat before, and that kind of thing.
What's the competition level like at the national meet? Because I know here during the season, you've gone up against, JUCOs of our
Mhm.
size. You've gone up against four-year schools.
Mhm.
What's kind of the competition level like at the national meet?
I'd say like Coach always tells us before, it's one of our easiest meets, um, because everyone's at the same level. You're not going up against, like you said, 4-year schools, D1 schools. Like, we had meets against huge, like, Big Ten schools, that kind of stuff. So it's definitely it definitely takes some pressure off in the aspect of you're going up against people like, I knew everyone in my meets. I know how they run. I know just like everything about them. It's a smaller division, so the top people, like there's not too many of them. So, and then, yeah, that's about it.
Cool. We're going to start wrapping up here, but I do want to get to know you a little bit because this is your first time on Coffee with the Wolves. Maybe your last time. We don't know what's going on. You sophomore?
Yes, I'm a sophomore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably your last time on with me here, first and last. I want to ask just a little, just to get to know you a little bit. How long have you been running in track and field and cross country?
So I started cross country when I was in 5th grade, and then I started track when I was a sophomore or junior in high school. So I didn't do it my first year or 2 years. I can't quite remember.
Yeah.
So I've been running competitively for quite a while.
Do you remember what got you into track? Was it just to continue conditioning for cross country or something else?
Yeah, I think my track coach, she was also one of the assistant cross country coaches, and she finally convinced me to. Even though I swore to her I'd never run track, she convinced me to. So yeah, I think that's probably what it was.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like it ended up being a great decision for you.
Yeah.
Being a sophomore, what do you have? What are you hoping to do next?
Right now, I'm hoping to transfer to Purdue Northwest, and their coach is very excited to have me there. So, assuming everything goes well with transferring and everything, I should be going to run for them and finishing a civil engineering degree with them.
Cool. Yeah, Purdue Northwest. I actually lived right on the same street
Oh,
as that
cool.
until just 2 months ago.
Wow.
So I'm familiar. Well, Andrew, congratulations on
Thank
your
you.
win. We won't keep you any longer. I know you may have class or something coming up here pretty soon. So, again, congratulations. Thank you for joining me here
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Coffee with the Wolves. We'll be back next week.